Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. Good to see you all. Tonight we're continuing with our study of Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. And tonight we'll continue with chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita. We will be discussing from verse 16 onwards. And if you have any questions or any comments as we go, then please ask. So text number 16. But it is I who am the ritual. I am the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chant. I am the butter and the fire and the offering. So Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that the Vedic sacrifices recommended in the Karmakanda division are in total also Krishna. Or in other words, those engaged in devotional service are to be understood to have performed all Vedic sacrifices. So this is similar to the format of chapter 7. We're hearing Krishna's giving different examples of how we can see him within his creation so that we understand his transcendental nature properly. So Prabhupada mentions here about the Karmakanda section of the Vedas. Now, what is the purpose of the Karmakanda section of the Vedas? Most of the Vedas are dedicated to Karmakanda. By Karmakanda, we mean generally worship of demigods. Most of the Vedas are focused on worship of demigods, and a small percentage of Asanakanda are focused on service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. The Bhagavad Gita is the essence of the Vedas. That's why it speaks about. But the Karmakanda section of the Vedas, people worship demigods for what purpose? Why do people worship demigods? The purpose of worshiping the devatas or the demigods is that people have material desires. And in order to fulfill their material desires, they are taught within the Vedic scriptures to approach higher power, to approach devatas, demigods. This is the teaching of the Vedas, because the Vedic peoples, they worship a higher power to fulfill their material desires. In modern materialistic society, people don't offer homage to a higher power. Some people think that everything comes to them just because of their own work. They don't understand that actually, if we are having good fortune in our life, or if our material desires are being fulfilled, it is because of the benediction of higher power. So the Vedic system is that they worship the higher power within the universe to receive their benediction. Even though they're approaching with material desires, still they approach higher power. That in and of itself is purifying to the consciousness. So that if and when, by good fortune, someone who is already worshipping demigods comes in contact with a devotee and hears Bhagavad philosophy, hears the philosophy of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it will be easier for them to take to this practice, because they're already used a higher power. So this is the system. So that's why Krishna gives this karma kanda section of the Veda. Of course, the Srimad Bhagavatam, which we follow, the Bhagavad philosophy, teaches us akama savakamo va moksha kama udaradi nija bhakti yogena tivrena bhakti yogena, which means whether you have material desires or you're free from material desires, you should approach only Krishna to fulfill those desires. So for us as devotees, aspiring Vaishnavas, we don't worship demigods, even if we have material desires. We'll go directly to Krishna to fulfill those material desires. So that is the what is recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and that is the system that devotees follow. Krishna mentions, or it is mentioned in the Bhagavatam, that if you do approach Krishna for something material, Krishna may grant that for you, but he will grant it in such a way that you never ask for that thing again. So Krishna can fulfill our desires, but he'll do it in such a way that we'll never ask for that again. So our lesson is, as devotees, is that we should always approach Krishna, even if we have material desires. But if for those who aren't yet devotees, but they have greater text 17. I am the universe, mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am Rig, the Sama, and the Yajur Vedas. Prabhupada means early existence, into existence, different relationships. Such as our father, mother, grandfather, creator, etc. They are so, but Krishna, all the ways there to understanding Krishna. Our concept. Similarly, understand all Vedic principles is also part and parcel of Krishna, and as such is also Krishna. And because the hymns of the four Vedas translated word Om is very prominent, it is understood to be Krishna. Can you hear me? You just, you know?
The connection is very low, Prabhu.
Listening. Very. Can you hear it though? It's audible, you can hear it?
I'm hearing you, but it's very broken. Your speech
Okay.
is broken.
How about that? Is that better? Or
Yes. Clear.
clear?
Yes.
Was it clear before from the start, or it was from the
At
start
the
it wasn't
start
good?
it was clear, and then you broke up, but now you're clear again.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. So we'll continue. Just let me know if it starts dropping out. So as Prabhupada is explaining to us here, everything is aiming towards understanding Krishna. In other words, that is the essence of the Vedas, the Veda Sara. Veda Sara means the essential point of the Vedic teachings, right? What is the essential point of the Vedic teachings? The central point is one should focus on surrendering to Krishna alone. Okay? That is the focal point. So, because that is the focal point, we focus on surrendering to Krishna. By all the Vedas, I am to be known, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. So this is the purpose of Vedic study. We can study different departments of the Vedas, but everything is heading towards this point, right? So that is the essence, or we could say the prayojana, the goal of the Vedic understanding, right? Is to understand Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one studies all the Vedas, but one does not understand that Krishna is tu Bhagavan Swayam, he is the Supreme Lord and the Supreme Master, one's Vedic study has not been complete. Text number 18. I am the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything, the resting place, and the eternal seed. Text number 18. Prabhupada says in the purport that Gati means the destination, where we want to go, Krishna. One who does not know Krishna is misled, and his so-called progressive march is either partial or hallucinatory. To approach the different energies of Krishna is to approach Krishna indirectly. One should directly approach Krishna, for that will save time and energy. Everything is resting on Krishna's energy. Therefore, without Krishna's shelter, nothing can exist. Krishna is the supreme ruler. Krishna is the ultimate goal of shelter. And therefore, one should take shelter of Krishna either for protection or for annihilation of his distress. And since Krishna is the Supreme Father, no one can be a better friend or well-wisher than Krishna. Krishna is the eternal cause of all causes. So Krishna is giving these verses. He's speaking about himself, as he does in the Bhagavad Gita. As he says in the next chapter, Aham savasya prabhavo mataha sabam pravartate. I am the source of everything, material and spiritual. Nothing exists beyond me. So, as is being explained here, Krishna himself, speaking about himself, saying, I am the supreme entity, right? And the goal of life is to connect to Krishna. And if we understand that, then we have understand the essence of spirituality. Otherwise, we've not understood what is the essence of spirituality. Text 19. O Arjuna, I give heat, and I withhold and send forth the rain. I am immortality, and I am also death personified. Both spirit and matter are in me. So Krishna says, Prabhupada says in the purport, by analyzing all these different energies of Krishna, one can ascertain that for Krishna there is no distinction between matter and spirit, or, in other words, he is both matter and spirit. In the advanced stage of Krishna consciousness, one therefore makes no such distinctions. He sees only Krishna in everything. Since Krishna is both matter and spirit, the gigantic universal form is also Krishna, and his pastimes in Vrindavan are those of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the correct understanding of the absolute truth. Prabhupada explains this in the Bhagavatam, in the introduction. The Srimad Bhagavatam is an elaboration upon the Bhagavad Gita. Right? The Bhagavad Gita is sutra. It is spoken in very concise, definitive form. The Srimad Bhagavatam is an expansion, right, of the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita. Everything in the Bhagavad Gita is expanded upon and elaborated upon in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, because the Bhagavatam is the expansion or the elaboration, it is the essence of everything. Now, Prabhupada says the Bhagavatam, in the introduction of the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada explains, the Bhagavatam doesn't speak about God, it speaks about the absolute truth. It is not simply about God. It is about the absolute truth. It is about everything. Everything is spoken of. So it is the absolute truth, right? The summum bonum. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of all spiritual teachings. And it explains both matter and spirit, which is the absolute truth. That's when you look at the material creation and the spiritual creation together, that is the absolute truth. So Krishna is the source of both of these, both the material and the spiritual. We need to have knowledge of both while we're here in this material world, because we need to learn to differentiate where real pleasure is derived from. Most people think real pleasure comes from the material energy, the material world. But those who are spiritually realized, they understand that the absolute truth everything emanates from Krishna ultimately. Right? That is the perfect understanding of the absolute truth. Right? So one who has that understanding understands things completely as they are. He understands that this material world is inferior for pleasure, and the spiritual world and spiritual energy gives you a superior pleasure. Therefore, he aims for that. Text number 20. Those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified by sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. Prabhupada explains in the purport, unfortunately, there are many great scholars of the Vedas who do not know the ultimate purport of studying them. Therefore, Krishna herein declares himself to be the ultimate goal for the Trivedi's. Actual Trivedi's take shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and engage in pure devotional service. Devotional service begins with chanting Hare Krishna and side by side trying to understand Krishna in truth. So, many people study the Vedic teachings, but they don't understand what is the essence of the Vedas. Right? They don't understand what the actual purport or the goal of the Vedas are. Therefore, as Krishna explained in chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita, we need a guru, right? Gurus who will direct us towards what is the actual goal of the Vedas. And even amongst gurus, not all gurus are qualified or bona fide. So we become purified of sinful reactions and we take birth on the pious we want to aim beyond this. We want to become purified of sinful reactions, but our goal is not to take birth in higher planets. Our goal is to approach Krishna, to become qualified to go to Vaikuntha or Goloka Vrindavan. Text 21. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Prabhupada says in the purport, one who is promoted to the higher planetary systems is not allowed to stay there forever. One is again sent back to earth. One should better take to the spiritual world to enjoy an eternal life full of bliss and knowledge, and never return to this miserable material existence. So Krishna is elaborating here so that we can understand what is the supreme object of worship. Because for many of us, we don't understand the supreme object of worship is Krishna. Right? We think that the supreme object of worship is maybe the demigods or our senses or something material. Right? And as long as we think like that, then we cannot attain Krishna. So that's why Krishna is telling us within the Bhagavad Gita that the actual goal of our worship is to get to Krishna. So this is being explained in the Bhagavad Gita, that the actual goal that we are aiming for is Krishna, and we should focus on that in this lifetime. Text number 21. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Text 22. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So now Krishna is going to focus. He's spoken of the other objects of worship. Now he's going to focus on the supreme object of worship, which is he himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada explains in the purport, one who is unable to live for a moment without Krishna consciousness cannot but think of Krishna 24 hours a day, being engaged in the 9 activities of devotional service. Such activities are all auspicious and full of spiritual potencies, which make the devotee perfect in self-realization, so that his only desire is to achieve the association of Krishna. Such a devotee undoubtedly approaches Krishna without difficulty. The Lord helps the devotee to achieve Krishna consciousness by yoga. And when he becomes fully Krishna conscious, the Lord protects him from falling down to a miserable, conditioned life. So, Krishna is now focusing on the essence. Chapter 9 is considered to be the most confidential knowledge. That is the title of the chapter. Right? Chapter 9 speaks of the most confidential knowledge. It is considered to be the most confidential chapter within the entire Bhagavad Gita. And now, at the end of the chapter, Krishna is about to give many verses which speak of pure devotional service. He's spoken of lesser objects or lesser goals of worship, right? Worshipping demigods and so forth. But now he's going to speak about the supreme object and the supreme goal, which is to worship him directly. Text number 23. Those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me, O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way. In the purport, Prabhupada says, persons who are engaged in the worship of demigods are not very intelligent. Although such worship is offered to me indirectly, Krishna says, everyone is to offer his worship to Krishna only. That will automatically satisfy the demigods. Krishna does not approve the unnecessary worship of the demigods. So Rupa Goswami explains in the Nectar of Devotion, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that we should offer respect to the demigods. Every devotee should respect the demigods because they are great devotees. They are Krishna's servants. So we offer respect to the demigods. But Krishna says here that we should not make them the supreme object of our worship. So Krishna is differentiating to make us understand what should be the object of our faith and the object of our worship. So Krishna says, those who worship the demigods actually are worshiping me, because eventually one has to understand that the demigod's power is coming from Krishna. So it is being mentioned here, right, that we should understand the proper circumstance and we should worship them accordingly. So those who worship Krishna, right, which is what we're aspiring to do, we're focusing on worshiping Krishna exclusively. If you worship Krishna, the example is given in Bhagavatam, all the demigods are automatically satisfied. Just like if you water the root of the tree, all the leaves and branches become nourished. So if you worship Krishna, all of the demigods are satisfied. Right? So that is our focus. We need to worship properly. And then we will get to the correct goal. Text number 24. I am the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. Therefore, those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature fall down. Purport. All Yajna performances are meant for satisfying Krishna. The perfection of Varna, Shrama, Dharma is to satisfy Krishna. If anyone has any material desire to be fulfilled, he had better pray for it to Krishna, although that is not pure devotional service, and he will thus achieve the desired result. So Krishna is saying, worship me. Right? Don't focus on worship of others, but worship me. You know, we've pointed this out. In the Bible, it says, God says it within the Bible, I am a jealous God. In other words, just focus on me. Don't focus on others. So Krishna is like that. He doesn't want us to worship other personalities. He wants us to focus on him, to worship him. Okay? That is what will give him satisfaction. Text 25. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. And those who worship me will live with me. And the purport Prabhupada says, if one has any desire to go to any planet, one can attain the desired destination by following specific Vedic principles. Similarly, a pure devotee who worships Krishna only achieves Krishna Loka without a doubt. Unfortunately, many people have no information of the sublime planets where Krishna and Vishnu live. And because they do not know of them, they fall down. Even the impersonalists fall down from the Brahmajyoti. The Krishna consciousness movement is therefore distributing sublime information to the entire human society, to the effect that by simply chanting Hare Krishna, one can become perfect in this life and go back to Godhead. So we have to understand, we have to have proper sambandha. The Vedas has three subject matters. Sambandha Gyan, Abhideya Gyan, and Prayojana Gyan, or Tattva. Sambandha means relationship, right? What is my relationship as a soul to Krishna? What is Krishna's relationship to me? What is Krishna's relationship to his energies, the para-prakriti, the apara-prakriti, the spiritual world, the material world? What are Krishna's... What is Krishna's relationship with everything? What is our relationship with everything? That is called Sambandha Gyan. Right? Then there is Abhideya. Abhideya means process. How do we attain Krishna? Right? It is through the process of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is the uniting or connecting principle of how we connect to God, how we connect to Krishna. And then there is Prayojana Tattva. Prayojana means the goal of life, which is to develop love for Krishna, to once again unite in service with Krishna. So these are the subject matters of the Vedas, and in the Bhagavad Gita, we're hearing about these subject matters. By Bhakti Yoga, by devotion, you will attain Krishna. And Krishna consciousness is the ultimate goal of life. So the Bhagavad Gita is speaking these eternal truths so that we can understand the essence of the human form of life, the purpose of the human form of life. Text 26. Now, this is a very famous verse, and this is a verse that is explained by Krishna, that Krishna wants us to understand so that we can attain pure devotional service. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. So this verse is considered to be a verse which discusses pure devotional service to Krishna. Krishna says, it's a very simple verse, but it has a profound truth in it because it speaks about pure devotional service to Krishna. Prabhupada says in the purport, for the intelligent person, it is essential to be engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord in order to achieve a permanent blissful abode or, for eternal happiness. The process of achieving such a marvelous result is very easy and can be attempted even by the poorest of the poor, without any kind of qualification. The only qualification is to be a pure devotee of the Lord. So this verse is interesting because Krishna says, he explains to us how simple and easy it is to worship him. Patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam. Right? Just offer me. Krishna speaking in the singular sense. Just offer me a piece of fruit, a glass of water, a leaf, meaning the tulsi leaf, or a flower, just one flower, one tulsi leaf in water, one fruit. Just offer to me with bhakti, with devotion. I will accept it. Ashnami means I will relish it. I will accept it. Right? So this is Krishna's message in the Bhagavad Gita. It is such a simple process. It's so easy to please Krishna. You just have to offer him something very small and insignificant with love and devotion, and you will conquer God's heart. You will connect with God. That is Bhakti Yoga. Of course, if we can offer something greater to Krishna, something more elaborate, we should do that. But Krishna is showing the simplicity of bhakti, the simplicity of devotion. Text number 27. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. So, Prabhupada explains, it is the duty of everyone to mold his life in such a way that he will not forget Krishna in any circumstance. So, we may be attached to this material world, which means we have a particular way we like to work or particular things we like to do in this world. But if we can offer those things to Krishna, it may be what we like to do. It may not be a purely selfless or purely devotional mentality. Right? We may have particular desires, the way that we want to act and work. But when we offer those things to Krishna, we become purified. Right? We connect to Krishna, we satisfy Krishna. So even if we have ways that we want to work in this world or things we're attached to in this world. But if we dovetail them or connect them to Krishna or offer them to Krishna, we become completely satisfied. We become purified. Text number 28. In this way, you will be freed from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. With your mind fixed on me, in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me. So Prabhupada explains in the purport that as long as we are in this material world, we have to act. Therefore, if actions are performed in Krishna consciousness under superior direction and the fruits are given to Krishna, that is yukta vairagya. Actually, situated in renunciation, such activities clear the mirror of the mind. And as the actor gradually makes progress in spiritual realization, he becomes completely surrendered to Krishna. Thus, he becomes liberated. The devotee who has always lived his lifetime here under the direction of Krishna has evolved to the point where he can, after quitting this body, go back to Godhead and associate with Sri Krishna. So Krishna is explaining here, we have to gradually give up attachment to the type of work that we do and be prepared to do anything for Krishna. So that is the secret of pure devotional service. We have to be prepared to do anything for Krishna. Of course, in the beginning, we may have particular things we like doing for Krishna, and we do that for Krishna, that's good. But sooner or later, we have to fully give ourselves to Krishna in a pure way. Text 29. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever surrenders unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. So Prabhupada says, Krishna is partial to the devotees. This is the manifestation of Krishna's special mercy. Krishna's reciprocation is not under the law of karma. It belongs to the transcendental situation in which Krishna and his devotees function. Devotional service is part of the spiritual world where eternity, bliss, and knowledge predominate. So, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yeyatamam prapajante, tam tataiva bhajamyaham. As you surrender to me, I will reward you accordingly. So it is up to us how much we surrender to Krishna. And the more we surrender to Krishna, the more Krishna will be interested in serving us, in reciprocating with us. Text 30, even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. Another very famous verse. And Prabhupada explains, when a living entity is conditioned, he has two kinds of activities, conditioned and constitutional. In the conditioned state, sometimes devotional service and service in relation to the body will parallel one another. But sometimes those activities become opposed to one another. A devotee is very cautious not to do anything that could disrupt his wholesome condition. He knows that perfection in his activities depends on his progressive realization of Krishna consciousness. If one derides a devotee for his accidental fall down, then one is disobeying the order of Krishna. So Prabhupada explains very nicely within this purport that sometimes these activities become opposed to one another. So in the beginning, we may perform activities which are material by nature. So we're conditioned souls, we're Nityabhata living entities, which means we have many bad habits from our past conditioning. And sometimes we may act according to those past bad habits. But gradually, by the strength of bhakti or devotional service, we learn to overcome these things so that we can fully surrender to Krishna, which is pure devotional service. That's what we're aiming for in our life. Text number 31. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. And Prabhupada says in the purport, a devotee engaged in the 9 kinds of devotional activities is engaged in the process of cleansing all material contamination from the heart. He puts Krishna within his heart, and all sinful contaminations are naturally washed away. Continuous thinking of Krishna makes him pure by nature. Therefore, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra should be continued without stoppage. This will protect a devotee from all accidental fall downs. He will thus remain perpetually free from all material contamination. So Krishna is explaining that sometimes we may deviate because of our past conditioning to material activities. But then again, we correct ourselves and we re-engage fully in Krishna's service. So Krishna says that for a devotee, he never perishes. Declare it boldly. My devotee never perishes. Even if we may deviate, Krishna will bring us back to the path of bhakti. Right? The material nature is very strong and we may deviate for some time, but Krishna will always bring us back. Text 32. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they may be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, and Sudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination. Prabhupada explains, the process of devotional service is so strong that the pure devotee of Krishna can enable people of all the lower classes to attain the highest perfection of life. This is possible only when one takes shelter of Krishna completely, as indicated by the word yapashritya. So, here's another famous verse, many famous verses here because these are the essential teachings of the Bhakti tradition, which Krishna speaks of in the Bhagavad Gita. So, even if you're born in a lower caste, right? Even if you're not materially very qualified, if you have devotion to Krishna, you are accepted by him and you're considered the most elevated person in human society. So even though sometimes it may seem that we struggle and that we're not highly qualified from a material point of view. If we have genuine bhakti and devotion to Krishna, we're considered to be on the topmost platform. Next 33. How much more this is so of the righteous brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. And Prabhupada explains, no one should remain in this temporary world, full as it is with miseries. Everyone should attach himself to the bosom of Krishna so that he can become eternally happy. The devotional services to Krishna is the process by which all problems of all classes of men can be solved. Everyone should therefore take to Krishna consciousness and make his life perfect. So Krishna is saying, regardless of our material situation, we should just fully dedicate ourselves to him, and in that way we become dear to him. And the final verse for this chapter, which is such a famous verse, and which is the rahasya, or the secret of the entire Bhagavad Gita. Engage your mind in always thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. And Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness is the only means of being delivered from the clutches of this contaminated material world. One should think of Krishna in devotional love. That is bhakti. One should cultivate the knowledge of Krishna continuously. What is that favorable cultivation? It is to learn from a guru. One must engage in the 9 different processes of devotional service, beginning with hearing and chanting. That will make one fully absorbed in Krishna without deviation. This will help one transfer to Krishna Loka. So that is the essence of the entire Bhagavad Gita. Just fully surrender to Krishna, engage your mind in always thinking of Krishna, and then you will attain Krishna. You'll go to him without a doubt. So we'll stop there. Any questions or comments on anything that we've discussed? Okay. So we'll continue next week. Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Mhm.